All right, everyone, welcome to another episode of the Liam McCullum Show. Today I have Bart Crabtree on. I've been meaning to get him on the show for a long time now, and I think he has an incredible story and an incredible mission. And I just wanted to bring him on to talk about the Montana Citizens Council on Judicial Accountability and the type of legislation they're pursuing. Welcome to the show, Bart.
Thank you, Liam. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so the first thing, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell the audience a little bit about you and your mission and kind of the purpose of the Montana Citizens Council on Judicial Accountability.
Yeah, you bet. Like I said, I'm glad to be here and sharing this experience with everybody. I am the founding director of it was originally the Montana State Council on Judicial Accountability. Recently, we amended our name. We dropped the word state and inserted the word citizens. The reason we did that is because a lot of people were thinking we are a government agency because we had the word state in it. So we amended it to the Montana Citizens Council on Judicial Accountability. We have our vision and our mission stated on our website, which is just at mtscoja.org. You can go to our website and look at our vision and our mission and all the information as to what we're doing. One of those things that we're working on diligently right now is amending grand jury laws in the state of Montana to make it easier to impanel grand juries to go after corruption in our judiciary. And when I tell you there is corruption in our judiciary, there is. The vast majority of judges and people in the judicial system are good, hardworking people. The problem is there are some bad apples in there, and the good ones simply turn a blind eye to it. And that's what we're trying to change. We're seeing judges that violate judicial canon of ethics. They violate statutes, Montana laws when they're on the bench. They legislate from the bench, and this is wrong. And this is why we're moving forward to changes, because innocent people and families are being hurt by this because nothing has been done about it. There's simply no accountability with judges, police officers, prosecutors across the state of Montana. And as you know, one of the bills that we brought in 2021 was House Bill 685 that would abolish the Judicial Standards Commission. Now, the Judicial Standards Commission is comprised of only 5 people and is chaired by 2 district court judges. And what that commission does is oversees complaints or grievances against judges. So you can see the inherent problem there, Liam. You have judges overseeing grievances, serious grievances against other judges. And over the last 8 years, which is the last 4 biennial reports given to the legislature by the Judicial Standards Commission, over 98% of all complaints have been summarily dismissed by the Judicial Standards Commission. So we feel it's a very serious problem. When the bill went out of the House Judiciary Committee on the second reading on the House floor, because of heavy lobbying against it by the Supreme Court justices, the Montana Trial Lawyers Association, Montana Bar, the Montana Judges Association, it failed on the second reading on the House floor by a vote of like 47 to 51. There was a couple people that were absent that didn't vote. The good news is a few legislators recommended it be sent on to the Law and Justice Interim Committee, and that's where it's been for the last year. And the great news is just last Monday, well, a week and a half ago, they took a vote to send it forward to the 23 legislature, supposedly to do a full audit of the Judicial Standards Commission. That's what we're looking at. It was a 9-3 vote. We were really excited about that, not just because it won and advanced, but also because 3 Democrats came on board with it. I think they can see the value and the importance of upholding the integrity of our judiciary. Our judiciary has a black eye because it's had no accountability for a long time. So that's what we're looking to change.
Now, what would an audit do as opposed to getting rid of this commission? Are they looking at the percentages of complaints that are being turned down? What will this audit specifically look for?
Well, yeah, we've already established that it has an extremely large dismissal rate, over 98%, as I mentioned. But the important thing that when they do an audit of the Judicial Standards Commission, it will look into all of the cases that they have actually dismissed. And okay, so say we look at case number 439, whatever it is, and the audit will bring out the fact that, hey, this judge actually did something wrong here, but yet the commission vote to simply dismiss it when they should have handled it and brought some accountability to that particular judge. There are serious breaches of trust being committed by judges across the state. So, and it's important that the citizens realize this.
Now, I'm wondering, are you familiar with any stories that can kind of convey just how important this is? Sometimes people really need stories to kind of like convey the message. Have there been any examples as you've been lobbying for this legislation, as you've been trying to spread the message, that you've encountered that have really motivated you and moved you to get behind this? Are there any very egregious examples of judges violating their authority that you've encountered?
Yes, thanks for asking that. That's an important question because, matter of fact, just about an hour ago, I met with another guy here in Great Falls at a coffee shop, actually where I'm at right now, and met with him for the first time. And it's not just the judges. It's happening with our local police department, especially here in Great Falls, Montana. It's happening across the state with police departments and probation parole. It was quite a story that this guy informed me about, and I'm going to meet up with him again and follow up. But the seriousness of these ethics violations, police filing false reports in order to get people charged with something. This is what actually happened to me about 5 or 6 years ago. It actually happened to me, and it grossly affected myself and my family. I ended up spending about 7 months in jail over something I never did. They falsely accused me of it. They lied in the police report. I ended up going to trial with it. I just did it pro se, meaning that I didn't have an attorney. I didn't see any point in having to fork out $10,000 or $20,000 to be represented. And when I went into court, I expected the truth to be told, and it wasn't. A Great Falls police detective lied. The state's main witness, who was my primary accuser, she committed multiple counts of perjury. And the local county attorney here and the judge all know that this happened, and yet they've done nothing about it. So I personally was seriously affected by this. I missed my daughter's entire senior year of high school because of it. And after that, I just had to do something about it. Something has to be done with these people. They're not honest. They're not being honest with the Montana citizens. So that's my why. You know, people are more interested in why you're doing something instead of what you're doing. Our organization has a full board of directors across the state of Montana. We're very active. We hold community forums and legislator roundtables across Montana. As a matter of fact, we'll be in Bozeman next Saturday, 6 o'clock, and we're going to be talking about bringing grand jury legislation. One of our board members has been heading up a committee specifically going after a standing master judge down in Bozeman and a nefarious organization called Family Bridges. We're going to be Zooming that meeting in, by the way, and I don't have the login information right now, but I can get that to you.
Yeah,
no. I'm hearing stories constantly. I'm getting letters. We get letters every week from people across Montana being affected by this, and it's real. It is real.
Yeah, I think people across the political spectrum are aware of the need for accountability. Interestingly, I think that this is a place where the left and the right can actually have a meeting of the minds. We've seen many calls for, repealing qualified immunity from the left, and I think that this effort that you're kind of pursuing with the grand jury is within the same ballpark. Do you want to explain what that grand jury legislation would do and what the purpose of that would be?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. Actually, it's pretty exciting. I wanted to touch just briefly on, excuse me, it's a term called criminogenics. Criminogenics is actually started at the top at the federal level. And when states see the federal division getting away with these crimes, as we all see every day across America, there's no question about it. But then the state judiciary starts behaving in the same bent way that the feds are. And then it doesn't stop there. When our state agencies see our judiciary getting away with bent activity or nefarious activity, then they start acting nefariously as well. And we are seeing that all the time with agencies such as CPS, Child Protective Services. We all know what's going on there. And that is something that is being seriously dealt with right now with some legislators. There's going to be a lot of information and bills coming in 2023. But that being said, excuse me, I got a little bit of a cough here. Grand jury. We all have a constitutional right to a grand jury. A grand jury is not your typical jury called a pettit jury in a criminal trial, which we all know is 12 people. Okay. A grand jury is a special group of citizens that are impaneled to actually investigate a crime. Typically, the way it's done now is our police officers or sheriff's deputies investigate a crime and then submit the information to the county attorney's office, who then submits a warrant or a request for a warrant for arrest for a certain individual or group of individuals. But a grand jury simply looks at the facts of a case and then would hand down an indictment, which would force a prosecutor and a judge to charge somebody with a crime and prosecute them and try to convict them of that crime that they've been investigated for. In the state of Montana, however, the only way to get a grand jury impaneled is at the discretion of a district court judge. Okay, so we can see the inherent problem with that. Judges protect judges, judges protect police officers. They're all in the system. So what we're looking at amending are the laws and the statute on grand jury in Montana, which would, for example, allow a petition to be signed by, for example, 1/2% of the population of the county. So like here in Cascade County, that would be about 450 people. If you had that many people sign the petition and that petition is submitted to the clerk of district court, that would force the judge to impanel the grand jury. No more of this at the discretion of the district court judge. Let the grand jury do the investigating. Let them make the decision. I think you'll start seeing a lot of changes coming with that. And these would be state statutes that would be applied at all 56 counties across Montana. Every county would have the right to impanel their own grand jury if they see something wrong.
Are you seeing a lot of support behind this bill? Have you talked with any legislators, any other organizations, and what are you hearing from people about that?
There is a lot of support for it out there. I've been going around giving a PowerPoint presentation on it myself, plus with the Montana Citizens Council. The Montana Republican Party, even though this is, again, a nonpartisan issue. The GOP had their annual convention down in Billings a couple months ago, and it's on their platform now. Resolution number 10, I believe, is that they are wanting to pursue some changes in grand jury laws as well, because I think because of what we've been pushing for the last year and a half. So it's exciting. I think it's going to come with a lot of bipartisan support. I think it's going to pass overwhelmingly. At least I hope it will. Maybe I'm being optimistic, but we're getting a lot of support. When I show the PowerPoint presentation, people are just almost in awe about it. They don't realize it was even an option. So it's opening up the doors of information for the people of Montana, and we're glad we're doing it.
Does your organization, is it looking into qualified immunity legislation in the state? Are you interested in that at all?
Yeah, we definitely are. We've talked to a couple of legislators about this. I think, as most people know, judges have absolute immunity. And about 5 years ago, prosecutors had what they call qualified immunity. Not quite as much immunity as a judge has. However, in 2017, come to find out, our legislator ended up giving prosecutors absolute immunity as well, which I found to be pretty shocking. And we're looking to change that back. Now, I would stress here that these immunity laws that judges and prosecutors have, it is for honest mistakes that they make. That's why it was started, for them, to protect them from honest mistakes that they make. But some of these things that prosecutors and judges are doing are not being done by mistake. They're doing it with intentionality. And even with immunity laws, if a prosecutor or a judge breaks the law, if they commit a crime, they are not covered by the immunity clauses. Nevertheless, we're going to start with the absolute immunity on prosecutors and try to get that reversed. I don't know how that'll go. We're just starting on that. So,
yeah, I think the whole question about immunity is kind of muddied sometimes, because the left only focuses on police officers. But when you start to talk to people about the fact that a lot of public officials have immunity, even sometimes teachers, and they have immunity and they're protected by public unions and stuff like this. I think then you can kind of change the conversation around immunity if you are able to explain to people that this is judges, these are people in agencies. It's not just police that have immunity. And I'd like to see more of a conversation surrounding that in Montana too.
Absolutely. Yeah. But, our focus is on the judicial system. Obviously, that's our mission, that's our vision. And it really doesn't go into like the education area, schools and all that, although it could. But right now we really have our hands full, just focusing on the judiciary. I wanted to also say, remember back in 2021, many people remember the big email scandal with the Supreme Court. Okay, our bill, that House Bill 685 with the Judicial Standards Commission, was actually one of the bills that manifested all that. Many of the emails back and forth with the Supreme Court justices and other people focused in on our House Bill 685, lobbying against it, as you recall. So, I mean, obviously the main bill that manifested that whole thing was Keith Regeer's Senate Bill 140, I think it was.
Yeah, it was 140.
Which gave the governor the full power to make appointments to open district court seats, rather than using the Judicial Nomination Commission, I guess is what it was. That was done away with, but they put up a good fight over that, again, because they didn't want to lose any of the power. They had power to appoint the people they wanted to the seats, the district court seats. So that took that away from them, which is what's going to happen with the Judicial Standards Commission. It's going to put oversight of people in our judiciary with we the people. not
Right.
with people in the justice system. And rightfully so, it should be with we the people.
Yeah. So with Senate Bill 140, there was this organization that selected the few judges that the governor had to pick from that he would appoint, correct? Like there was this, they picked within a narrow framework which judges the governor got to select. And now, after Senate Bill 140, the governor has, I guess, more freedom to pick judges, and it's not within the limits that this organization set.
That's correct. That's exactly what it is. Yep.
And then for people who aren't familiar with that controversy with the Supreme Court, do you want to just explain what happened? I think it had something to do with the discretion and the constitutionality of this bill. And there was like an email exchange that occurred among the Supreme Court justices about this specific bill. And then I think one Supreme Court justice actually approached a legislator advocating against the bill, or I think even met with Gianforte. And then this spawned a whole controversy that led to the Supreme Court recusing themselves, or at least a few of them.
Right. Yeah, that was actually Chief Justice Mike McGrath that actually went to, from my understanding, went to Governor Gianforte's office and basically lobbied against it, from my understanding. But I'm not real familiar with all the details of the Senate Bill 140, but you are correct. There were a lot of emails that were released. But as I said, a lot of those emails ended up pertaining to our House Bill 685 concerning abolishing the Judicial Standards Commission. So obviously those in power in our judiciary are very concerned about it because they don't want to give up that authority. And by the way, I pointed out to the Law and Justice Interim Committee when I was the panelist there in May, our Constitution of the state of Montana says that our legislature shall make the appointments to the Judicial Standards Commission. Now, mind you, this was 50 years ago when we came out with our state constitution. So for 50 years, the appointments to that Judicial Standards Commission have been unconstitutional because it gives the legislature the power to make the appointments. So I would ask you and your audience, why is it we have been allowing our chief or the Supreme Court to make one of the appointments and the Montana Judges Association to make two of the appointments? So in effect, you have our judiciary making 3 of the 5 appointments to our Judicial Standards Commission when it is supposed to be done by our legislature or we the people. So that's a very important point. I'm glad you brought that up. It reminded me.
Yeah. So in effect, we have this organization selecting the judges that are about to be appointed. But we also have another board that is in charge of oversight. Effectively, these people that are appointed by the Supreme Court oversee the Supreme Court and the complaints about the Supreme Court justices. So effectively what has happened, the appointee process for 50 years was turned away from the legislative power that the Constitution set up, but then also the oversight power that the legislature had was also given to the judicial process. So the whole thing's backwards. And Senate Bill 140, that changed the appointee process. Now the governor has a broader range of judges that he can appoint. And then the other bill is looking to amend the oversight process and put that back into the legislature's hands.
Yes. At a minimum, they will do that. I'm very confident in that. A number of the legislators on that committee are fully behind what we're doing. We even submitted a proposed state bill. It's about, 16 pages long as far as implementing a citizens oversight commission in place of what we have now. It's a very important step. And like one of the senators on that committee said, it's going to take a lot of heavy lifting. And we agree with him. And we told him we're ready to help you do that. We think it's that important. But yes, the Constitution regarding the Judicial Standards Commission, the oversight of judges, states that the legislature is to make the appointments, those 5 appointments to those 5 positions. But we've been letting our judiciary appoint 3 of those 5 for the last 50 years. And it's kind of, I don't know if an anomaly is the right word to use, but it's interesting that nobody has caught that all these years. Nobody has noticed that, and they've just been doing it. So anyway.
Do you know what the legal justification has been? Do you know if the legislature created this board and gave that power to the judiciary? Do you know if that's how it started and that's why they were able to get away with it?
Well, the Constitution of the state of Montana created it. And then, of course, the statutes follow the Constitution. At least they're supposed to.
Yeah.
Yes. And actually, our Judicial Standards Commission was kind of copied by the New Mexico Judicial Standards Commission. I can't remember if that's the precise name of their oversight commission down there, but it has about 12 or 13 members on it. So, and I pointed out to the committee a number of other states that have commissions for oversight that include about anywhere from 11 to 14 members. So, why is it that Montana only has 5? And why is it chaired by 2 district court judges? So these are some things that we want to change. Yeah.
And would the citizen oversight committee, would that be within the same structure? It's just that the pool of people who would sit on it would be citizens as opposed to district judges. Would it still be with like the same system, or are you planning on making a completely different oversight committee?
It would be a little bit different. It would be split up into like thirds, where you would have a group of citizens, like a third of the commission, say 4 people, that would review the initial complaints. And from there, they could either deny it or go ahead and advance it to the second group of people that would verify everything. And it would basically work up a ladder up to the point where the third section would actually have a hearing or a trial against a certain judge for ethical violations or criminal violations or what have you. So, and then this commission would be ever evolving. It would be changing not all the time, but for instance, you might have one citizen that would be on there for 2 or 3 or 4 years, but then it would be on a rotating basis. We're a firm believer in allowing the citizens to be more active in our government, and that means in the Oversight Commission too. And this is filtering into other agencies too. There's some other agencies we're looking at developing a Citizens Oversight Commission too, because they're self-disciplining as well. It's not good when our agencies are self-disciplining. Right. We all know that. Yeah.
Yeah, you referenced it earlier, and I just wanted to highlight this, but you were talking about CPS and family bridges. Can you just explain more about that problem and what your organization would like to address and what changes you think could happen?
Well, the family bridges issue down in Bozeman and some in Billings is pretty much separate from the issues that we're hearing about and seeing with CPS, even though CPS kind of does leak into the family bridges thing. But I might, just so I don't trip over my tongue here, you might want to actually interview our board member, Elizabeth Peterson, down in Billings. She's the one that's heading up that committee, has all the information on that. But I can tell you, just highlighting it, in essence, what it involves is a standing master judge. And that standing master judge, specifically this one in Gallatin County, is appointed by district court judges. And that standing master judge responsibility is to handle family court issues, usually, divorces and child custody cases. And then enters in this organization called Family Bridges. They are out of California. They set up camp in Bozeman some years back and have just wreaked havoc on families down there, taking kids to these so-called reunification camps, Um, I think I probably ought to stop there. I think if you interviewed Elizabeth, she can give you all the details on it, and she's really a good interviewee too.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'll
Yeah.
definitely get her contact info from you.
Okay.
The last thing that you and I have talked about that I wanted to bring up is jury nullification. Is there any legislation that you've looked at or that you're going to look at in regards to jury nullification and maybe education? I know that people have talked about requiring juries to be informed about jury nullification and their right to nullify. Is that something that you guys are interested in? I know we've talked about it just on a personal level.
Yeah, we do have it on our list. We have not done much reviewing of the process. So to answer your question, we don't have any plans on bringing jury nullification bills to the legislature this next winter. Not to say that we won't, but it is on our list. We're actually going to be having a board meeting next Saturday in Bozeman, and our list is quite extensive. And so we have to pare it down in order of importance, not only as a board, but as citizens of Montana, what they think needs to be done. So yes, if your listeners and people across Montana would like us to tackle this jury nullification issue, we're more than willing to, look into it, study up on it, approach some legislators that might be interested in carrying the bill. And I want to add too that, we've worked hard over this last 3 years, what we're doing. And in my opinion, we've grown a pretty darn good reputation because what we testify on and what we bring is honest. It's, we don't embellish things. We bring the facts to the table, and the legislators that we work with appreciate that. And what we're driving for, obviously, is we want to be to the point, and someday soon, I think we will be, where a legislator will come to us and ask us, is there anything that I can sponsor for you guys? And that's quite an honor, actually, when they do that. They trust us. They know that what we bring to them are facts. It's just no bull. They are becoming aware of the seriousness of the problems and the issues that we're facing. So.
Yeah, well, I'm really happy with the work that I've seen come out of your organization. And I mean, you definitely made the press being involved in that scandal with the Supreme Court. And then you've been tarnished by the press personally. So I'm just happy. I mean, that's something, you're doing something right when that happens. So I'm just happy to see it. And I hope to interview you later, and I'm sure I'll have you back on the show, and I'll have to get Elizabeth on too. But yeah, I'd love to continue to support you guys, and I hope everyone else comes out to support you and goes to your website. I'll link to that in the description, and then everything else like your future events and any other legislation or articles you want. But if there's anything else that you want to say before you go, or any links or social media profiles that you want to tell people about, please do.
Yeah, actually, I would. Since we're on here, there's another organization, very Christian based, that I shouldn't say we are, because as a board and organization, we're not affiliated with them. I am personally. And the organization's name is Tactical Civics. You can go look at it at tacticalcivics.com. And the reason I got involved with them is because they are pushing grand jury legislation issues in all 50 states across the United States, all 3,141 counties across America. Tactical Civics has numerous books on grand jury. They have a book called Starting Over America. You'd have to go on there and look at it, but it's a very worthwhile organization, and I decided to become involved with them because they're with us alongside of us reissue, and they have a lot of information on it. Actually, my PowerPoint presentation, I got a lot of my information from the book that's published by them. So I would encourage your listeners to maybe go and take a look at them and consider becoming a member. It's only like $5 a month. It's really nothing to join them. So a cup of coffee, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll link to that as well. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and then I'll put the details to your event in Bozeman that's coming up in the description as well, if people want to go to that. And yeah, let's just stay in touch. I'd love to have you back on the show again. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, I'd love to. Thanks, Liam.